Hey, this is Tyrese Anderson. What I want to talk about today is the question of will the Ukraine war lead to World War III? Now, of course, anyone who's, of course, been around and just in general pays attention to the news, even the slightest bit, knows about the war that's going on in Ukraine. This war that's going on with Russia, of course, being the instigators of it. And a lot of people, since Russia is a nuclear power, have been starting to wonder, will they actually use nuclear weapons? Especially since Putin has been intimidating and talking about using nuclear weapons for the past few months, which I'm certain has scared the shit out of a lot of the world. So for this video, I will discuss using logic if he will actually use nuclear weapons. So the first question, or the first way I should say, to answer that question, I will put out there as to why personally I don't believe he will use nuclear weapons is simply due to the fact that when it comes to Putin using nuclear weapons, because the thing about Putin, what he's been doing is that he's been suggesting and implying he's been going to use nuclear weapons, he's going to use nuclear weapons, he's going to use nuclear weapons, he's been, he's going to use nuclear weapons. Whether that sounds repetitive just now and even a bit annoying, that's how he kind of sounds, in all honesty, when it comes to his discussion about using nuclear weapons. He's been saying he's going to do this for the past few months. There isn't a week that goes by he hasn't brought it up. And the truth of the matter is, the first reason why I don't think Putin's going to use nuclear weapons is simply down to the fact of how war works. Because the thing about war is that with the way the Ukraine war is going, it doesn't seem there's ever going to be a period of time he can concisely say, okay, I am going to use nuclear weapons. Even if he actually intentionally plans to use nuclear weapons, as something of a backup, if he possibly is on the verge of losing the war in Ukraine. The truth of the matter is, even though the Ukrainians, as everyone knows, is winning, the truth is that the Ukrainians are winning a lot of their land back. They're winning it at a rate that actually, if anything, if anything, will still take quite a few months for them to win. Because the thing about it is that even though Russia is performing horribly, everyone knows it. They're not losing so much land at a pace that it's kind of that they would actually have the ability to think, okay, well, I have to use this. Because the thing about war is that war takes a long time. And war often in general not only takes a long time, particularly with someone like Putin, who seems to be willing to extend the wars for as long as possible, with the fact that he's forced so many of his people, in only a month or two ago to register to serve in the military, who a lot of them are not even poorly trained, which just makes you bring up the question of how many people he can freaking use for the war in Ukraine. He has shown with the amount of people he has used or he's going to use in general for the war in Ukraine, that he can make this war last for a longer period of time. Even if Ukrainians are killing like 10,000 Russians, on average per day, it seems with the way Putin is doing things, for crying out loud, he could make the war last for as long as possible. Besides, there's over 20 million people in Russia who are not only registered but also unregistered to fight in the military. There's a lot of people, able-bodied people, he can use to fight the war in Ukraine. So if he has the ability to extend the war for such a long period of time, it becomes kind of hard for him to know when exactly he's going to use it, even if he has a plan of actually using weapons of destruction like nuclear weapons for the war in Ukraine. So what my point is, if you didn't get the point already, is that with how long this war seems like it's going to last, it's hard for him, to really know when he's going to have to actually use it. So truth be told, This war is probably, to sum it up in other words, this war is going to last for probably for a long time, either a year or even a few years. So the fact that it's going to last for so long, how will he know when he has no choice but to use the weapons, the weapons, nuclear weapons for the war in Ukraine? It doesn't matter how badly he's getting smashed. He still has a bunch of people he can use, so he can make this war last for a very extended period of time. Even if Ukrainians are still regaining all their territory back, the Russians can still send more people in, which will kind of push them back a bit, making the war last for an even extended period of time. Not to mention the fact if they send enough Russians now, even if the Ukrainians are still going to win, of course, which I'm certain we're all aware that they're winning, because they're sending so many people in, it'll just make their job a lot harder for them to really regain it as quickly as they would have regained it if Putin didn't send so many more troops in. So yes, to answer your question, this is gonna. So yes, I don't think he's going to use it. There's simply there's simply too many people he has, too many reservists he has, not even including, to bring that up as well for him to use, for him to just to know exactly when he's going to have to even use it as a last resort. Not to mention the second point is that he's sick. He is very sick. There's a lot of evidence that has come out here. Some people say it's rumors or even Western propaganda. The truth of the matter is he is sick. It's undeniably evident now. Not only has there been so many different sources that have kind of talked about how sick he is, which makes it more believable at this point, and it's been going on for so long, the truth of the matter is he's even shown signs of him being sick. From physical evidence on his hand to even other evidence people have kind of shown that shows that he has a sickness that he's covering up. So since he has a sickness that he's covering up, you know, especially and not even just a sickness, this is cancer for crying out loud. There's a good chance he's probably going to die within the next few years. So if he's going to die, obviously, in the next few years, and as I already said with my first point, he can make the war in Ukraine last for a hell of a long period of time with the amount of people he's sending there. You know, with that already being there, with the fact that he has this extremely bad sickness, in other words, cancer, it's likely he will probably die in the midst of this invasion. So he will die before he can even use the nuclear weapons. That's not even bringing into consideration as well. Guess what? Something else that also needs to be discussed, which is simply the fact that he also because of how sick he is, there's a good possibility, let's just say, especially with people who are familiar with American history, there could be someone who could probably put a few droplets in his food or something, which is actually just straight up poison, and make it look like he died from a disease he has. Because you have to realize the thing about the United States military, even if you look at the past, or not even the military, the CIA, I mean, they have a very good way of assassinating people, and making it look like they actually died of natural causes. And of course, with the amount of dissent that's going on in Russia right now because of the war in Ukraine, as I'm certain you can see everywhere, from the massive crowds to even the amount of people who've left Russia because of his forced deployment, the truth of the matter is that Vladimir Vladimir Putin has a lot of haters. And since he has a lot of haters within his own country, it shouldn't take much to find someone who can say, okay, if you pay me this amount of money, we will put this in his food to make it look like he died of his sickness. And this is what I'm trying to say here, especially with the history of the CIA or the FBI, whatever you like to call them, either one of those two things. The truth of the matter is that even when you look at the past, the ways they were able to kill people is, even to this day, is still mystifying how good and effective they were at assassinating people. And this is from things from like the 1950s to 1960s. In the 1960s, they had technology that could kill someone by just simply pressing a button and aiming it at their heart to slow down their heart motion. That's the truth of the matter. So can you imagine what they can do in 2022? What they can do now to make it look perfectly well that they assassinated him? So that's another possibility that can also come up. As I'm including whether it's far-fetched or not, that's something they can do. Now I'm including the fact that he's probably going to die of natural causes based on his sickness anyway, was how bad his disease is manifesting. So no matter how you look at it, he's screwed. And to answer the question, will there actually be a nuclear war because of the war in Ukraine? No, I don't think it's going to happen. These two factors are too significant. They're too good when it comes to evidence to kind of show to prove that this will actually lead to World War III. So if you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about that that much. There's always a possibility, yes, I could be wrong, but mostly not. So this is my video. I have to answer the question of if will this lead to World War III. I hope you enjoyed it. And this is all I have to say. And if you like videos like this, remember to hit the subscribe button and thumbs up this video. And this is all I have to say. Bye.